Hello everybody and welcome back to Culz Book Reviews. So today we're doing something a little bit different. We have done comics in the past, but we've never done a manga. But I thought this one would tie in nicely with our Monday episode of Culz Reviews Deep Dives. And that's because on Monday we talked about Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man that came out in 2002. And so while we were prepping for that movie, I was watching it and taking notes and that kind of stuff. Obviously, at some point, you got to go grocery shopping. And, I was wandering Target and I saw this one hanging out in the book aisle. It is Spider-Man Fake Red with story and art by Yusuke Osawa. I know, I've teased that Superman one a lot. And I promise eventually I will get to it and eventually we will review it on the channel. I actually do own it now, so at some point we will cover it. See, it's true. I got it. But, I figured this was a good tie-in and a fun little first book review of 2024. Alright, so let's dig in. First up, we will look at the cover. Obviously, we see the title, Spider-Man, then Fake Red along the spine there. And then obviously we got the author and illustrator's name down here. And then we'll zoom in here. You guys can get a better look at the Spider-Man costume, which obviously you can tell it's Spider-Man, and it does look like it borrows some of the designs from different ones we've seen before. Obviously this white banding might remind some of the Sony Spider-Man games, and then the logo does look a little bit like Tom Holland's, and then of course you got classic just red and blue. Now behind Spider-Man, who is swinging off of a building, we do see Scorpion and Venom here, as well as Screwball up top. And then on the spine, you can see here Marvel, Spider-Man, Fake Red, Viz. And then on the back here, we got a picture of Spider-Man dueling with Scorpion, as well as we got our little introduction to the story itself. And then, of course, the ISBN, if you guys need that. Now, Goodreads puts this one at a little over 300 pages, but being that it is a manga, it does not take a whole lot of time to read through. Now, it is obviously going to be broken up by the different chapters or different releases. There's about 14, and so you don't have to read it all at once. I did read mine in about 4 sittings, but yeah, not too shabby of a read. Alright, so this first part is just going to be a little breakdown and some of my thoughts while I was reading it. Just with some of my notes and stuff. I'm not going to go into spoilers in this section here, and that way, in case you guys are looking to read this and haven't read it yet, you can go into it with a fresh mind still. Perhaps you were just, wandering Target like myself. You saw it and weren't quite sure if you wanted to pick it up, so you looked for a review, and hopefully my opinion will give you what you were looking for. So let's dive in. Alright, so right off the bat, I will say the title at first didn't really know what it was. Again, I didn't read the description on the back. I just picked this up because I thought it would be a fun tie-in and something different that we haven't done on the channel. And so Fake Red, I will say, as you go into the story, you'll understand why it is called Fake Red. Like the cover shows, we do actually get multiple villains in the story. Scorpion, Venom, Screwball do feature in their own part, but there's some other ones, at least one other one, as well as some little cameos, but we won't spoil it yet. And I will say, for the most part, their designs look pretty nice. There was one that felt a little odd, especially because all the other designs seem pretty faithful. We do see some really good quipping with Peter, as well as you, and we'll get into you and who you is. So I guess a tiny bit of spoiler, but the main character in this one is actually you. But yeah, the equipping and inner monologue I think worked really well. Also, if you're like us and have read other Spider-Man content or watched the Spider-Man movies, definitely see some homages in here to some of the famous stories or movies, or at least connections that I had made while reading it. And we'll get into that with spoilers. I will say the first part I thought was a bit stronger. It's a little bit more of a slow burn, but I do kind of enjoy that. at the beginning. There is action, and the ending is definitely a lot of action. And I feel like it could have gone on a little bit longer, like, if it was 2 more parts long, 16 instead of 14, I think that would have helped kind of let certain things breathe. But overall, I really enjoyed reading it. It wasn't anything crazy. And I think for what the theme was going for, it worked. Especially with Spider-Man, it almost had kind of a Batman kind of flair. Overall, the writing was good, and the art is exceptional. I thought the artwork in here was really good. Did all the buildings look like we were in New York? No. I feel like some of the buildings definitely could have had a little bit more New York to them than what we ended up seeing. But, it's okay. It fit the world I think that we were in. It's not perhaps supposed to be a realistic New York, but it wasn't bad, honestly. And like I said, the artwork is phenomenal. I will show you guys here some right now. So here you can see one of Peter Parker. This one's in color, and a little bit of that suit design kind of reminiscent to that Sony Spider-Man video game. The artwork looks really, really nice. All this is very early on into the story, so no huge spoilers, but the detailing is really exceptional. I mean, you can even see where the earlobes, the outline there would be, and just like you can see how around the eyes and that, the eye design is made of a different material than the suit. So exceptional artwork. And here is our main character. Like I said, our main character in this one isn't Peter Parker, it is you. But don't worry, Peter Parker is in this one, obviously as himself, as well as Spider-Man. And so there's the character design for him. At the end of the manga, we do get this art gallery, which is really quite nice. We have a lot of really nice artwork. All these ones are in color. And again, just some really nice designs. This one's almost kind of reminiscent of something you see in like Across the Spider-Verse, just with the colors and everything chosen there. And then towards the end, we do get an afterword from the author. In 2002, I saw Sam Raimi's Spider-Man in theaters back before I ever dreamed of becoming a manga artist. So that's kind of why one day they wanted to write. And so I, having read the afterword after I'd picked this up, I was like, oh, this is perfect. Even more to tie in with the Spider-Man 2002 deep dive that we did. Really, really good. And yeah, at the end we have Peter Parker in color saying, hey, you're reading the wrong way. The book actually, this is the back. It's a manga, and it kind of tells you how to read one. And hey, at least this time it's actually supposed to be read like that. Unlike when I had that Dan Edwards one, you can check out my review above, but for some reason like 70% of the book was written or printed upside down and backwards, so it was really kind of hard to read, and people are like, why are you reading that book upside down? So being a manga, this is just how they're structured. So what did I think of it? I think for the most part it was good. Like I said, I feel like it could have used a little bit longer of a story just to kind of flesh out the ending. It felt a tad rushed at the end, but overall I enjoyed it. No real complaints, being something different and not something for research purposes, just kind of for fun and for a tie-in. Fit what I was looking for, I suppose. It didn't disappoint. I felt intrigued throughout the whole book, and I liked the characters. Some weren't as fleshed out as perhaps you'd want, or like I said, the ending battle with the main villain, you wish they would have maybe developed that more and continued that a little bit longer. But overall, I would say a pretty solid price, 7.5 out of 10. It's actually not too bad. I actually will probably recommend this to people. So you're watching this, if you guys are, and looking to see if you should read this, I think it's not bad. Worth a check out. They're not too expensive right now. They're like $11, I believe, at Target, and some Targets are running a sell, buy one get one 50% off. So you can get this with another book or movie or vinyl and get 50% off. But that is for, at least right now, the week of Valentine's Day, so 2024. So I'm sure that won't be forever, but you can also find these on Amazon, not too hard there as well. But if you guys don't want to be spoiled, click away now. Thank you guys for joining, and we'll see you guys in the future. But tonight we're going to talk spoilers. Alright, so now that we're in our spoiler section, let's get a little bit more into the plot. The main character is Yu, like I said. As he puts it, he doesn't really have any friends, antisocial. He does enjoy rock climbing, though. You will see a ton of rock climbing in this one. For a Spider-Man, I guess it's kind of right, I suppose. Spider-Man climbs a lot, so I guess rock climbing is the sport of choice. But we do see like that Spider-Man No More, that we've seen in the films and obviously the famous comic run where you finds Spider-Man's costume in the dump. So me as the reader, that's why I was thinking it was in the trash can and been thrown away. And when we come to the end of the story, when you does finally catch up with Peter Parker, he does explain that there was so much responsibilities, and he kept missing out on MJ. MJ blocks him, even though he had gotten to the play that she was in, but obviously late. One of her co-stars and was like, "Are we finally going to meet your phantom boyfriend?" So clearly, this is something that he does a lot in this universe. We do know that it's kind of like Spider-Man's thing is he has all this power and can get to wherever he wants kind of quickly, but for some reason he's always late. I do think it was handled well, especially when Peter is talking with you and kind of about the responsibilities and the burden of being Spider-Man, especially when compared to, like earlier I talked about, we had watched Spider-Man Lotus, which kind of goes off the rails when he's just like trauma dumping on this poor kid who's just gonna die, which I know they were going for a comic there as well, but I think this one handled it better. And Yu doesn't have any powers. He wasn't bitten by a radioactive spider or a spider containing any mutagen or anything like that. He was an average person that found the costume, and at first he thought it was just somebody's costume that they made and made it really nice, and then he realizes no, it's the real one. It has the web shooters. And so he's putting it on, and he gets kind of tasked into doing different things. He rescues a small child from a burning building, even though he doesn't have the powers, and it takes a lot out of him. And he has a lot of self-doubt. We see self-doubt in that portion. We see self-doubt when he goes against Screwball, and obviously when he goes against Venom. And I think that's what is kind of intriguing about his character, is even though he wants to give up, or he doesn't think he's good enough, he slowly learns what it means to be a hero and kind of belief in himself. So I thought that was good. Screwball was an interesting villain to use, but again, for you to go up against, it's not someone as crazy as like a Venom. Early on he's going to just save someone from a fire, where he stops some just kind of local robbers by just webbing up the windshield. And so Screwball, even though on this like hover glider, nothing crazy, and he's able to use kind of like his wits and social media to stop Screwball. So that's interesting. What is Venom? Well, Venom in this one is Peter Parker, who's been infected by the symbiote, and you do kind of get a hint at that early on in the book. Well, we never know when Venom's going to show up. And Venom shows up, I would say, a little over halfway into this one. I should say full-fledged shows up, right, as Venom fights off Silk. Silk, another spider being, shows up. Silk actually is the one that traps Screwball to get arrested, confronts you and is like, "Hey, why you're doing this?" But says, "Well, you probably shouldn't be doing this, but Spider-Man's not here, so you're giving the people hope still." And Venom kicks Silk's butt, so Yu's just trying to kind of distract Venom and not let Venom get the people, let the citizens and bystanders get away. Inadvertently clonks against a bell, which affects the symbiote, and this is when Peter Parker and Yu can have this kind of like face-to-face. Yu reminds Peter who he is, gives him the mask back. Peter escapes the clutches of the symbiote, which brings in the main villain quite late into the book, about I'd say 80% in, which is Mysterio, and that is the design that I was like, whoa. Let me show you. So yeah, it's definitely updated. We can see like obviously the classic colors. It was just like, I guess it's the mask that kind of threw me off. It's a very different. I mean, it still looks like Mysterio. I know who it's supposed to be. It's just like kind of odd because the other villains or heroes that we know are pretty faithful to what we know them to be. While these are illusions, we do see Vulture, we see Doc Ock, we see Craven. Venom looks like Venom. The story kind of ends off pretty quick there, and Yu gives back the suit to Peter, but he's really come to his own. And he's even made a friend through this time. His friend Emma, who notice he's Spider-Man because, being rescued by Yu, disguised as Spider-Man, Emma saw that there was some cuts on Yu's arm, then later sees Yu at class with the same cuts. So it brought up how Green Goblin and Raimi's universe noticed Peter at the end of that movie because of the cuts, and it's kind of funny because you would think that it wouldn't be very hard to notice superhero bruising and stuff like that. Obviously, Spider-Man and some of these superheroes can have like regenerative abilities or healing abilities, and so it's a little bit different for them. But we do see a couple times where Yu is sporting some nice bruises throughout because he doesn't have any powers. But at the end, we do see that, he's come into his own. He's more confident, and he's made his friend, and he feels happy. He has a good outlook, and Spider-Man and Silk kind of stopping at the end, and they feel good with where he's at. And then they swing away, and that's the story. That is all they wrote. So that is a kind of long-winded review, I suppose, of Spider-Man Fake Red. Unfortunately, if you are reading this now, it looks like it was canceled. It ran from 2019 to 2020. But who knows? Perhaps if this sells really well now that it was introduced into the United States in 2023, perhaps it will start selling some copies. And if it does well enough, like anything, money talks, and hey, perhaps, it'll come back, or Yusuke will write another story. I don't think Yu has to return. I feel like this story is pretty wrapped up where it's left off. But I would be interested to see what other stories Yusuke has for Spider-Man. As far as like Peter Parker, or just the whole Spider world. We did get quite a bit, and almost like a love letter. We saw so many different villains and a few heroes popping in. So, yeah, it was interesting, and like I said earlier, probably a good 7.5 out of 10. I would recommend it. Like I said, we did recently do a Spider-Man 2002 deep dive, as well as Spider-Man Lotus deep dive. So make sure to go check those out if you're interested in Spider-Man. If you want us to do more manga, let us know in the comments below what we should check out. Eventually, I will check out that Superman one. I know I keep teasing you guys, and I feel bad, but man, we just got so much on our plate. We are super busy, but promise, eventually I will get to that one. But until next time, for more Culz book reviews, including ours on Bridging the Tragedy, click that link to your left. For more about what we're doing here at Culz Paranormal, click that link to your right. And don't forget to hit that like and give us a subscribe. And let us know if you've read Spider-Man Fake Red. What did you think? Tell us comments below.